Picture this: a seemingly perfect marriage, a Christmas party invite that seemed routine, and an unsuspecting husband ready to support his wife. But what unfolds is a tale of hidden secrets, shocking revelations, and a confrontation that will make you rethink the very essence of love and loyalty. As I discovered my wife's true activities at these parties, my world turned upside down. I was in utter disbelief when I saw Maya, my wife of 5 years, sitting shirtless on some guy's lap in the hot tub below. Their expressions left no doubt that they were engaging in intimate activities. Enraged, I quickly filmed a short video with my phone. Although I considered changing into swim trunks, I decided against it and sat in the room, contemplating why she didn't want me at the party. Maya had been working as a secretary for a hedge fund company for about a year, and she always seemed genuinely happy. Now, the reason behind her joy was becoming painfully clear. Earlier that week, I had stumbled upon a text on her phone about a company Christmas party that included a +1 invitation. When I mentioned it, she tried to dissuade me from attending, expressing concerns that I would be bored amidst financial experts discussing money. Confused, I asked if she was ashamed to be seen with me. She reassured me it wasn't about embarrassment, but rather the anticipated dull conversations at the event. The monthly parties hosted by her company were usually staff-only, resulting in Maya being out until late at night or the next day. I never questioned it before, but now I understood what was really happening at these events. I acknowledged her explanation with understanding. She then mentioned that if I decided to go, I should make sure my tux was clean, though she doubted I would enjoy the party. On the day of the event, she suggested I bring swim trunks. I found it odd for a December Christmas party, but she explained that they often ended up at her boss's penthouse, which had a nice hot tub. Accepting this, she admitted they did this almost every time. She then asked me to promise to behave myself that night, to which I assured her that I always did, though my tone wasn't very convincing. Curious, I asked why she was telling me all this. She explained that the parties could get quite wild, and she didn't want me to get upset, mentioning that the guys there could be pretty handsy. I inquired if there would be any problems, stating that as long as everything passed the husband test, it should be fine. She just smiled, kissed me on the cheek, and said nothing more. At the main party, Maya introduced me to her friend Diana, calling me her husband. Diana smiled and questioned the term husband, suggesting it was going to be fun and calling Maya a wild and crazy girl. Puzzled by Diana's comment, Maya just smiled and giggled. She then said she needed to mingle and asked Diana to get her a drink, specifically wine. Without looking back, they left. I went to the bar, ordered her wine, and got myself a beer. I searched for her, but couldn't find her anywhere. After half an hour, I sat at an empty table, hoping she would come looking for me. Meanwhile, I watched the lively dance floor, feeling invisible and ignored as people moved around me. She was right. I wasn't having any fun, and my frustration grew as I realized my wife had abandoned me. After nursing my beer for a couple of hours, I decided to leave. If Maya wasn't going to spend time with me, I'd just go home and leave her with her friends. As I walked toward the exit, Maya and Diana appeared with 3 other guys, one with his arm around Maya's waist. She greeted me with a slightly intoxicated, "Oh, there you are," and kissed me. I tasted tequila and something else on her lips. I told her I was leaving since she had abandoned me for 2 hours and asked where she had been. Maya blushed, avoiding eye contact while the guys smirked. Diana explained they had been taking shots. Maya seemed puzzled by Diana's explanation, leaving me curious. I asked Maya about the shots, mentioning the taste of tequila and something else. She dismissed it, saying they were heading to Max's place, where the hot tub was warming up, and asked if I was ready. I agreed, asking if I would get to spend time with her or if she planned to abandon me again. She assured me I'd see her later and decided to ride with Diana and the guys, suggesting it was fine if I followed. I suggested she ride with me, but one of the guys grabbed Maya's hand and pulled her away, irritating me further. They left, and I followed in my car. When we arrived, Maya was already in a bikini, which puzzled me. She was in the hot tub with the 2 guys, later introduced as Max and Leo, the senior partners at her firm. They acted like nothing more than wealthy frat boys. After they went outside, Diana approached me and asked if we could get together later. Surprised, I asked what made her think I'd be interested, emphasizing that I'm married. She expressed surprise, saying she thought we had an open marriage based on Maya's interactions with other guys, especially the way Maya had kissed me earlier. Confused, I inquired what she meant by how Maya kissed me. Diana dropped the bombshell that Maya had already been intimate with Max and Leo. A wave of nausea hit me, and Diana's face fell as she saw my reaction. "Oh my God, you had no idea, did you?" she gasped. I admitted I was clueless and asked how long this had been going on. Diana confessed that it had been happening since Maya joined the company over a year ago. The realization hit me hard. My wife had been deceiving me all this time, and I had no inkling. I asked if this was what she had been doing at all the parties. Diana revealed that Maya had been involved with those two guys and a few others, apologizing and assuming I was aware. She tried to reassure me that Maya genuinely loved me, but I replied with biting sarcasm, doubting that love. Diana suggested I go upstairs and change, hoping Maya would behave with me around. Scoffing at the idea, I headed upstairs anyway. That's when I saw her with those two guys. Despite my feelings for her, I couldn't tolerate it any longer and decided to confront her. As I went downstairs, Maya greeted me at the bottom, questioning why I wasn't in my bathing suit and if I was joining them in the hot tub. I grabbed her arm, pulled her into a nearby room, and shut the door. I demanded to know if she ever planned to tell me about this so-called open marriage. Mentioning what Diana had told me, I showed her the video on my phone of her with the two guys in the hot tub. I asked if she was trying to humiliate me even more after leaving me alone at the party. Maya downplayed it, claiming they were just having fun, admitting to the acts but insisting they meant nothing. I was stunned and disagreed, emphasizing that it meant everything to me. I took off my wedding ring, placed it in her hand, and then removed her rings from her finger. She asked what I was doing, and I told her that her actions were revolting and that I currently despised her. I wished her a Merry Christmas, mentioned I would be seeing a lawyer about a divorce on Monday, and instructed her not to bother coming home. Despite her desperate pleas and declarations of love, I stayed unmoved, stating that I no longer cared about her feelings, understanding now why she didn't want me at the party. I said goodbye to Maya and left. One of the guys, I'm not sure which one, called after me, asking why I was leaving so soon and complimenting Maya. I casually replied that she was theirs now. Leaving the penthouse, I drove home. Maya's calls and texts came flooding in, but I ignored them. Once home, I deleted her messages and blocked her number. Changing out of my tux, I grabbed some trash bags and started packing her clothes and belongings. I loaded everything into her car, pulled it out of the garage, and removed the garage door opener, changing the code so she couldn't get back inside. By then, it was around 2:30 a.m., and I was exhausted. I fell into bed and quickly fell asleep. The next morning, I was woken by the house phone ringing. Without thinking, I answered, "Yeah, it was Maya, asking me to come get her." I told her she was no longer my problem. She begged for a conversation, but I insisted that any communication go through my lawyer. I informed her that her car was parked outside with all her stuff and then hung up. When she called back immediately, I unplugged the house phone, determined not to see or hear from her again. I went back to sleep, plugging the phone back in when I woke up that afternoon. Seeing her car gone was a relief. Maybe she finally got the message. I started looking online for a divorce lawyer and researched the divorce laws in our state. This was a community property state, but we didn't own any real estate, so that wasn't an issue. We had no children, so no child support. She made as much, if not more than me, so I didn't expect any alimony. I discovered that while most divorces in this state were no fault, there was an option to file on the grounds of infidelity, cruelty, or misuse, which would make the divorce more expensive and time-consuming. But I didn't care. After noting down the contact for Emma Collins, attorney at law, I decided to call her on Monday. As I made notes, my cell phone rang, showing an unfamiliar number. Thinking it could be Maya or someone else, I answered. A female voice identified herself as Diana, informing me that Maya was staying with her for a few days. I confirmed my intention to proceed with the divorce. Diana expressed concern for Maya, describing her as a wreck, crying in her room, and fearing a nervous breakdown. I stayed indifferent, stating that Maya brought this upon herself. Diana asked if I had any lingering feelings for Maya, to which I replied that I currently felt nothing but hatred and disgust. I emphasized that Maya had been unfaithful for over a year and had the nerve to publicly humiliate me, leading to the inevitable conclusion that our relationship was over. Diana insisted that Maya still loved me, but I responded skeptically, asking about Maya's actions after I left and how long they stayed at the penthouse. I wanted to know if she slept with Max and Leo again. Diana confirmed they all got together to console Maya after my departure, suggesting I could have enjoyed the evening if I had stayed. I expressed disbelief, questioning where people like her came from, and ended the call with a terse goodbye. After hanging up, I noticed 2 text messages from unfamiliar numbers that had arrived early in the morning. I checked them and found videos attached. One message read, "Missed one hell of a party, bro." I played the video and saw Maya engaged in intimate activities with 3 men at the penthouse. While Max and Leo were recognizable, the third man was unfamiliar. He looked into the camera and said, "That's quite a wife you have there, bro," grinning. The second video was more of the same, ending with Max holding my wedding ring as Maya smirked at the camera. My hatred for her only grew. I transferred the videos to my PC and made a copy for the lawyer. I considered sending the videos to all her friends and family, but decided against it for now. Emma's website warned about the importance of careful reactions, noting that any negative response could undermine my case. So, I held off. I didn't hear from Maya or Diana for the rest of the day or the next, which was a relief. I spent the remainder of the weekend erasing Maya's presence from the apartment. On Monday, I reached out to my boss, explained the situation, and took a brief vacation. My boss, who had experienced a similar ordeal, empathized and supported me. I contacted Emma's office and scheduled an appointment for that afternoon. On my way to the appointment, I visited the bank to separate Maya from our joint account. I settled her joint credit card and canceled it, withdrawing half of our assets to open a new account in my name. Emma explained the divorce laws in our state and suggested pursuing an alienation of affection lawsuit against her employers, though the outcome was uncertain. I entrusted her with the decision regarding the delivery of legal papers, opting for them to be served at her office, so they would experience some of the public humiliation they had subjected me to over the past year. After our meeting, I paid the retainer and headed home. On the way, I received a call from Diana. "Hello," I answered. She proposed a meeting with Maya that afternoon, which I declined, following my attorney's advice to maintain distance. She offered Maya's contact information after consulting with someone. I provided Emma's contact details instead. Diana made one last attempt to advocate for Maya, but I firmly rejected any possibility of forgiveness, asserting that Maya could expect divorce papers soon. I ended the call and continued home, stopping only to buy a 12-pack of beer and a couple of packs of cigarettes. Having quit smoking when we first got married, I felt the need to engage in something to prevent destructive behavior. After arriving home, the house phone rang. When I answered, Max Anderson, my wife's employer, identified himself. Recognizing his voice from the party and noting his more professional tone, I acknowledged knowing who he was and asked about his intentions. Max expressed awareness of my upset feelings about the events on Friday, claiming they thought I was okay with my wife's activities at company gatherings. I questioned if he knew she was married during all this. He admitted he did, but explained that Maya had told them we had an open marriage, and he assumed I was okay with it. I pointed out that he never bothered to ask me about it, and inquired about the videos they sent me on Friday night. Max stated that the videos were Maya's idea and apologized, expressing regret for the situation. He asked if there was anything he could do to make it up to me. I responded by outlining my terms. I mentioned my intention to kick his balls into the middle of next week after he testified against her in court, and my plan to sue him for alienation of affection. I made it clear that if he wanted to make amends, he should accept my terms without any argument, and asked if he had anything else to add. He inquired if I was truly suing them, and I affirmed, emphasizing their violation of their own morals clauses over the past year while destroying my marriage. He dismissed it, claiming it was all in fun and they never intended to ruin my marriage. I questioned his expectations, expressing disbelief that I would commend them for their actions. I suggested he might have been influenced by unrealistic internet stories. He pleaded, suggesting that we could work through the situation, and voiced his concern that a lawsuit could ruin them. I dismissed it as not my problem and ended the call. Grabbing a beer, I headed to the balcony for a smoke. I didn't hear from them until Wednesday, when they were served at Maya's office. Diana called, incredulous at my actions, stating that I hadn't given Maya a chance to explain and highlighting her current humiliation. I remained indifferent, stating that I didn't care about Maya's feelings after what she did, and instructed Diana not to call again before hanging up. A few moments later, I received another call from a number I recognized from Max's office. I answered, yelling, and he immediately began hurling insults, threatening to kick my rear. He accused me of ruining his life and vowed to ruin mine in return. I slammed the phone down and called Emma to inform her about Max's threat. "Good," she said. "I'll file for a temporary restraining order against Maya and her cohorts today. I'll make sure you get a copy. Remember, don't do anything stupid." "What if he comes after me?" I asked. "Make sure you have witnesses and don't instigate anything," she advised. I understood her warning. Later that afternoon, there was a knock on the door. True to her word, Emma had filed the TRO, and a courier had just delivered my copy. I decided to take extra precautions and bought a small motion-activated camera to monitor my front room. I also kept a Louisville Slugger near the front door, just in case. If Max or his accomplices intended to follow through on their threats, I needed evidence and a means of protection. The rest of the week was thankfully peaceful. I didn't hear anything from Diana, Maya, or her boyfriends until Saturday night. I was sitting on my balcony, nursing a beer and a cigarette, when I heard my doorbell, followed by pounding on the door. I stubbed out my cigarette and went to the front room, looking through the peephole. Sure enough, it was Max, and I could make out someone with him as the pounding continued. He shouted for me to open up, claiming I was violating a restraining order. I informed him that I was calling the police, but he protested, yelling for me to open the door. I continued dialing emergency services. When the operator answered, I explained the situation at my door. The operator informed me they had received multiple calls for that area and had dispatched cruisers to my location, advising me not to open the door until the officers arrived. I thanked them and ended the call. The pounding continued, and I wondered if Max was going to break it down. Clutching the bat tighter, I waited and heard a commotion. Looking through the peephole again, I saw two large police officers putting cuffs on Max and the other man with him. The officer knocked on my door, identifying themselves as police. I opened the door, and Max glared at me as the officer led him back to the cruiser, yelling threats. The officer asked if I knew him, and I nodded, showing him a copy of my temporary restraining order. He read it, spoke into his radio, and informed me they would be taking them downtown for the night. I explained my story, and he thanked me for my cooperation, expressing that he didn't think Max would give me trouble for a while. I closed and locked the door, then returned to my balcony with a fresh beer. The news of Max's arrest hit the papers the next day with the headline, "Hedge Fund CEO Arrested." Over the next few days, articles revealed that several clients were leaving hedge fund due to the company's involvement in ruining employees' marriages, impacting their bottom line. I thought, good. Returning to work the following Monday was challenging, but I managed to get some work done. After about 3 weeks of no contact, I received a call from Emma. She greeted me and asked how I was holding up. I replied that I was doing as well as could be expected. Emma informed me that Maya had obtained an attorney and they petitioned the court for marriage counseling. The judge had agreed, ordering 6 sessions starting that week. I inquired if they could mandate marriage counseling, and Emma confirmed that they could. She advised me to attend, explaining that not showing up could result in contempt of court and even jail time. I expressed my unwillingness to reconcile with Maya, and Emma understood but emphasized the importance of my attendance. I reluctantly agreed, and Emma mentioned that if the counselor perceived no hope for reconciliation, they would inform the judge. I asked if there was anything else, and Emma revealed that Maya's attorney had informed her of Maya's pregnancy. I expressed frustration at the prospect of waiting another 8 or 9 months for any legal actions. Emma confirmed this delay, adding that if the child was mine, I would be ordered to pay child support. On a positive note, she informed me that the judge had approved a legal separation until Maya gives birth. I sarcastically commented, and Emma provided the counselor's address, wishing me luck. I noted the information on my calendar. I resolved to make it abundantly clear that reconciliation with Maya was off the table. When I arrived at the counselor's office, I was promptly led inside. A somewhat older woman peered at me over her glasses while Maya sat on a love seat, looking rather despondent. I had a bad feeling about the whole situation. The counselor, Dr. Olivia Bennett, introduced herself and suggested I sit next to Maya. Instead, I chose a smaller wooden chair at an angle to the love seat, expressing my frustration at having to be there. Dr. Bennett acknowledged my reluctance, but expressed her satisfaction that I had attended. She then turned to Maya and asked about her hopes for the sessions. Maya spoke about wanting to reunite, emphasizing the upcoming baby and her desire for us to be a family again. I couldn't help but scoff. Dr. Bennett then asked me about my expectations. I made it clear that reconciliation was not on the table, nodding towards Maya. I noticed Maya flinch at my words. Dr. Olivia acknowledged my stance and asked if I would consider reconciling for the child's sake. I reiterated my doubts about being the father and my commitment to support the child if it was mine, but firmly stated that getting back together with Maya was not an option. In response to Dr. Bennett's persistent questioning about the child's sake, I pulled out my phone and showed her the videos that had been sent to me, hoping to convey the depth of Maya's betrayal. Dr. Bennett looked visibly disgusted after watching them. I then remarked on her marital status and questioned how she would feel if the roles were reversed, and it was her husband in those videos. I emphasized that Maya had been betraying me continuously for over a year, even flaunting it in front of me. Dr. Bennett insisted that the focus should be on us and the upcoming child. I informed Dr. Olivia that Maya had a responsibility to provide some answers. After a moment of consideration, Dr. Bennett agreed and turned to Maya, who looked down, her face flushed with embarrassment. Finally, she agreed to provide answers. Olivia then gave me the opportunity to speak, and I turned back to Maya. I asked if she knew what was going to happen on the night of the party, and she admitted she did. I asked if that was the real reason she didn't want me to go, and she confirmed it. Reflecting on the terrible experience, I accused them of planning to humiliate me, to which she reluctantly agreed. I further questioned if the intention was to degrade me even more at Max's place, and she confirmed it, looking ashamed. I questioned Maya about the duration of her involvement with the other men at Hedge Fund, and she confessed it had been ongoing since she joined the company. Puzzled, I asked why she had done it. She casually replied that she found it fun, naughty, and exciting, making her feel desired. When I asked how many men she had been with besides me, she nonchalantly mentioned around 4 or 5 dozen. I was shocked, emphasizing the potential risks of venereal diseases. Outraged, I asked if she knew the father of the child she was carrying, and she admitted she was unsure. Confronting her, I criticized her expectation for me to raise and financially support the child, stating I no longer loved her and expressing strong resentment. I even admitted to hoping for a negative outcome. Maya and Dr. Bennett looked taken aback by my words, and Maya seemed on the verge of tears, but my anger remained. Just as I was about to inflict more emotional pain, Olivia intervened, indicating that I had made my point. I rejected the notion that I was discarding 5 good years of marriage, attributing the breakdown to Maya's infidelity. I contested the idea that our marriage had been good, emphasizing that the last year had been a lie, especially after Maya's admission of being involved with so many men and her uncertainty about the child's paternity. Olivia concluded the session, stating her intention to conduct individual sessions with each of us before determining the next steps. We scheduled our next appointments for the following week and left the office. As I walked to my car, I heard Maya calling out to me from the parking lot, but I ignored her. Through my rearview mirror, I saw her sobbing over her steering wheel as I drove away. I felt a twisted sense of satisfaction, thinking it was about time she felt some emotional pain. Later that night, I received a furious call from Diana. She blamed me for Maya's condition, telling me that Maya had been hospitalized due to a complication. Diana accused me of mistreating her. I defended myself, stating that I had only spoken the truth, contrasting it with Maya's deceit over the past year. Diana questioned my lack of concern for Maya's hospitalization, to which I responded indifferently. She called me a loser and emphasized that I should at least provide insurance information since Maya was still legally my wife, and I would be responsible for the bills. After some reflection, I decided to visit Maya in the hospital, mindful of the legal advice Emma had given me. Diana gave me the room details, and when I arrived, I spoke with a nurse and provided my insurance information. I briefly discussed Maya's condition with the doctor, who explained that pregnancy complications were complex, leaving the specific cause uncertain. When I inquired about the duration of the pregnancy, I learned that Maya was approximately 9 or 10 weeks along, which meant there was a possibility that the child could be mine. Nonetheless, I considered it inconsequential, as the complication opened the door for the divorce to proceed. After ensuring that Maya was stable, I entered her room. She looked distressed in the bed, tears in her eyes, with Diana standing at the foot of the bed. Diana glared at me, but I dismissed her with a stern look, causing her to leave the room. Facing Maya, I acknowledged the finality of our relationship. She asked if I truly hated her as much as I had claimed earlier. I admitted that my anger had lessened slightly, but reiterated that reconciliation was out of the question due to her betrayal. Expressing my frustration, I conveyed how each trip she made to the store left me wondering if she was involved with the checkout clerks. I questioned the sudden turn of disrespect, emphasizing that I had treated her exceptionally well throughout our years together. Maya admitted that I had been a devoted husband and lover, but countered by saying that others had influenced her, convincing her that it was normal for husbands to witness their wives with other men. I dismissed her explanation, stating that divorce was inevitable and any attempts to salvage the relationship were futile. In response to my decision, Maya tearfully accepted, agreeing to inform her lawyer the next day. I sternly clarified that any hopes of friendship were unrealistic despite her apologies. I remained resolute in my decision to end the marriage. As I started to leave her room, I paused, looked at her for a few moments, and said, "Goodbye, Maya." I could hear her cry as I walked away, thinking, tough luck, good riddance. A few days later, I received a call from Emma. True to her promise, Maya abandoned all objections to the divorce. Dr. Bennett wrote a report stating that reconciliation was impossible. She suggested I undergo anger management, and the judge concurred, recommending it though not making it a court order. Emma managed to secure settlements from hedge fund, as well as from Max and Leo. About a month later, she handed me the largest check I had ever seen. "That's minus my fee, of course," she said. "Certainly," I replied. I deposited the check and began to move on with my life, such as it was. SG Hedge Fund, or, as I cynically referred to it, Sodom and Gomorrah, shut its doors approximately 6 months later. It seemed clients lost trust in the company's financial integrity. Wonder why? I mused. Max and Leo remained silent after the incident at my apartment. Both served a 30-day stint in county jail for their stunt and seemed keen to avoid any repeat offenses. With their reputations tarnished in the community, they sought a fresh start on the West Coast. Maya and Diana continued living together, transitioning to jobs in a strip mall retail store specializing in women's clothing and cosmetics. I occasionally saw them, but never acknowledged their presence. Remaining single, I casually dated over the next couple of years. Eventually, I met Lily Roberts, a recent divorcee, and we embarked on a slow and easy dating journey. Like me, she had experienced the pain of infidelity in her previous marriage. Understanding her hurt, I provided all the support I could in the initial weeks. Our activities revolved around conversations, or outings for dinner and a movie. Recognizing her vulnerability, I took the time to engage in comforting activities such as holding hands and enjoying leisurely strolls through the park. Despite finding her attractive, I opted to let her take the lead. After a delightful dinner at her condo, she observed me with a curious intensity. "Do you find me appealing?" she asked. Smiling, I assured her that my attraction went beyond the physical. Curious about my lack of initiative, she playfully inquired if I liked girls. I responded with a smile, conveying a positive outlook on the situation. As I look back on those tumultuous days, I can't help but wonder, did I handle everything the right way? Was there a better path I could have taken? Or was this inevitable given the choices Maya made? Life has a way of surprising us, challenging our beliefs and forcing us to confront uncomfortable truths. Now, I leave it to you, my viewers. What would you have done in my shoes? How would you have handled the betrayal and the aftermath? Share your thoughts, and let's start a conversation. Your perspective might just shed new light on this dark chapter of my life.